Bassmaster Classic Expo coverage from Get a Limit Outdoors is brought to you by Rigid Industries LED Lighting. We run rigids, do you?
Hey folks, Travis here with Get a Limit Outdoors, and we wanted to stop by the V&M booth today to talk to Mike Farr about the products that V&M's come out with in the last year. There's a few places that they focused, and I think Mike was telling me earlier that they're really proud of the Wild Thing series, and they're also proud of all their Pacemaker series. And I wanted to stop by and talk with Mike about the way that the plastics are designed, and I think it's going to be a huge hit all over the country because their plastics move different than anything on the market. Mike, would you start out just by telling us a little bit about the Wild Thing series?
Yeah, a little bit about the Wild Thing series. First off, on our plastics and our jigs, spinnerbaits, any of our hard line of baits, we heavily rely on our pros. We've got Cliff Pace, Jacob Prosnick. Now we've got Jason Lambert on the FLW side, and we've got Clay Dyer. Okay. So we rely on these guys for feedback. So all of these baits are tournament proven. We put them out there, put them to the test for at least a year in most cases to make sure that they're going to work. And with the Wild Thing series, what we've got here is we've got a series of plastics. Right now we've got the lizard, the worm, and we've got our wild crawl. And each one of these baits is specifically designed around one thing: extra, tail action. Thump, whether it's effective in clear water, it's effective in dirty water. So if you look here, you see on the lizard, it's got kind of a thick spine. It's got a thick spine, and it's got a little razor thin back edge. Most worms, most lizards just have a razor thin tail. They tear up, they put off a little action, and they're effective, but not like this bait. It really intimidates the fish. What the thick side does is when it meets resistance against the water, it just makes it go crazy. It'll do full 180, back and forth, puts off the vibration. The thin tail also, on the thin side, it also allows it to get a little more action as well. And you see it's the same in the worm. This particular bait right here, this is our 8.5, and this bait has won more tournaments in North Louisiana, East Texas so far, and the word's starting to get out.
Right.
So, the crawl's kind of the same thing. We couldn't really do what we did exactly with this tail.
Right.
Because we just couldn't get the action with the smaller appendages. But if you notice here, you've got the flat side, so you meet the resistance, kind of like you do with the thick spine tail of the worm. And this thing coming through the water puts off more action than anything I've ever seen. You notice how the pinchers are a little more meaty?
Right.
And they have the actual dual pincher look to them. Well,
yes.
It actually gives it some weight, and you can feel the density of those crawls.
You sure can.
So it really feels a little more natural to a fish too, because crawfish don't have flat pinchers.
No,
most of them are meaty. So you get the natural feel, and you also get the crazy action that it puts off. And again, they just intimidate fish, and that's what makes these baits really hot.
That is outstanding. The first thing I noticed when I picked up this jig, folks, and everybody from Get a Limit Outdoors knows me as a tackle professor. I'm extremely critical of a jig when I pick it up. The first thing I look at is the hook, the quality of the hook, and if it fits the design of the jig. So when you're dragging a football jig and you're making super long casts and you're covering water with it, the last thing you want is a super thick hook. Well, this hook is a 5/0 proprietary. It's super sharp, but it's a medium wire. You've still got the strength to where if you hook a big fish, he's not going to straighten that hook out, but it's also not so large that you can't get good penetration through the thickest part of a big fish's mouth. So the second thing you look at is the density of the weed guard and also the thickness of the strands of the weed guard. So this one collapses fairly easy, and that's what you want on a football jig. So anyway, I was really impressed with the Pacemaker jig.
Yeah, and we've got 4 jigs in the Pacemaker series. You just talked a little bit about the football. One thing particular about the hook that's the same on all of these, except for the punch jig, obviously, because it's just a tungsten slipway,
right,
is we have the 30-degree flat line tie. And what that does, Traditionally, they're 60 degree, so it kind of closes off a little bit of your bite here. You know, you don't quite have as much bite. So the 30 degree gives you a little more bite. You still maintain the leverage, and the horizontal line tie. Actually, I don't know if I'm pretty sure you fished quite a few football jigs. Whenever you set the hook, you know, you don't want the jig in the side, or you want that top dead center.
Sure do.
And naturally, the horizontal line tie makes those, you know, makes that hook set turn that hook right up. So anyway, so we've got we also got the Pacemaker Adrenaline Series flipping jig, same hook. You notice all the detail on the head. And we got this cup bottom here. This gives it more of a kickstand type look, like you got two little sides to this jig that hold it upright. That cup exposes the single rattle. And then we've got the swim jig. The swim jig, same hook.
Yes.
You notice the keel on the bottom?
Sure
It
do.
allows that head, when it comes in contact, to kind of deflect the hook away for cover. So everything's designed with a lot of detail. And of course, the Elite Tungsten, the Elite Punch jig, that comes in the same, you know, colors that these do basically, and we've got a tungsten, you know, slimmer profile, much more sensitive head, so it's excellent for punching in that vegetation.
Really impressed with the detail on these bluegill skirts. That's a heck of a color. Anyway, thanks for talking with us today, Mike. Hope you guys enjoyed the Classic show, and it's good to meet you.
You too, man. Thank y'all.